I'm saying hi and I'm muted. Hi, how are you? So, per usual, let's play around with the view here until we get what we're looking for. Yeah, you know what? I think I like that. Okay, so welcome back to Empowered Esquire TV. We are a bit early, and the reason that we are early is that we're going to have a chit chat, a talk, if you will, prior to diving into our topic. So I'm a little early for that purpose. So, as you can see by the title of the video, when we do get into our subject matter, we are going to be discussing the Trey Songz suit. Okay, but before we get into our subject matter, as I said, I'm here early so we can talk. Hi, let me see your transcript. Hi, Doug. So, I know that I've been lamenting to you all about how I feel about this channel, right? And why I came to YouTube. So let me elaborate on that. I came to YouTube to share the knowledge that I have. I have a joy for teaching, a natural knack for teaching. And I feel that many people just have a very little, if any, understanding at all about the law and the legal system. And when you consider how much of a role this system plays in your life, it is very, very disheartening to know that most people don't know much about it, right? So I came to YouTube in the headspace of I want to teach, I want to share my knowledge, I want to help people, I want to be of service. So keep that in mind as we move forward. So I've been doing, the pop culture cases, right? Where we take pop culture cases, I explain the law, and don't get me wrong, I think it is helpful. I think this channel has already been, helpful in the lives of many people with teaching them certain facets of the law they did not know before. However, I feel that with the knowledge that I have and with the skill set that I have, I could be more of service to my subscribers. I think there's so much more that I have to offer you all, and that the pop culture lane, it just doesn't allow for me to really offer everything that I could. It doesn't allow for me to bring to this space everything that I could. And why not do something if not to do it 110%? So there's a number of things that are changing. First, we're going back to every single week, same day, same time, right? So you will always get a Sunday at 6 p.m. live, barring some type of emergency. But what I think we should add to, widen, as I said, my ability to be of service is more call-in shows. I want to do more shows where we really just talk about what's going on in society today as far as the legal world is concerned, where people can call in and they can share their thoughts, their questions, their concerns, and we can have that interaction. And then I can be of service by answering the questions that people have. Now, disclaimer, of course, this would not be me acting as your attorney, right? Duh, on that. But it would be a space where I could be more of service. And that was the entire purpose of me coming to YouTube. And you can correct me if you feel differently, but I feel that thus far, this channel has only scratched the surface of what I could offer. Only the surface of the knowledge that I could be sharing with you. And I got to tell you something else. I may have mentioned on this channel once or twice, the responsibility that people with education have. When you have acquired an advanced education, one that most people do not acquire, I believe, and this is my personal belief, but I believe that you have a responsibility to take that education, to take what you've learned and share it with your community. I think that I have that responsibility. And this channel was part of that, you know? So we will be expanding, Also, I have a lot of wonderful things coming down the pipeline, if you will. I will be launching a nonprofit. Part of the mission of the nonprofit will be legal education, free legal education. Okay. So, anywho, we are now at 5:51. I said that we would start at 6. Hello to everyone who is here, everyone who's tuned in, and hello to anyone catching this on the replay. Let me know in the chat and in the comments, how do you feel about the pop culture lane? And do you feel that really I could be more of service to you as a viewer if I were to merge into other lanes as well? Meaning, if we had more strictly legal based Q&A sessions, if we had more strictly legal based call-in shows, right? So let me know. Let me know in the chat and in the comments if you're catching this on the replay. How do you feel about that? And do you feel that that would be something that would be more of use to you? Okay. All right. So hello, Mara Cherise. Thank you, Mara. Thank you very much. Hey, Nappy Yankee. So we were just having a convo. I started early so that we could have this convo. And I was talking to everyone about why I came to YouTube. You can run the stream back if you want to catch that. But I really was just sharing with everyone that I love to teach. I love to share my knowledge. And I came to YouTube to be of service to the YouTube community, right? By teaching everyone the law instead of the dribble drabble and misinformation that tends to be spread. So with that in mind, I was saying that the pop culture lane, I can teach some. It's useful somewhat, but I want to start merging into really informational content that I think creates room for more interaction and room for me to be more of service. So Doug said people like to be interactive. So you all would probably like that. So yes, so we're going to be doing more call-in shows in the future. We're going to have more interaction in the future. Okay. So let me go ahead and yes, peace to everyone in the chat. So I'm going to go ahead and start diving into somewhat our topic. Okay. We're a few minutes early, but let's get started. So for those of you who are unaware, Trey Songz has been sued for $20 million. Okay. Let me see, your transcript has an interesting comment. So before we move on, I want to read her comment. So she said, my friend who has helped me with my channel has said that you should do what you are an expert in, but once in a while do pop culture and gossip, but not let that be all that you do. Well, the law is already what I'm an expert in, right? So we've gotten that one right. But yes, I agree with you. Let me see your transcript. I want to merge into doing more than just, my mindset was I could teach the law via the pop culture lane because I know that people really like that lane. But I see now that it's not interactive enough for me to really, as I said, be of service. It's just not. And I hope in the future to do more workshops and more, and that's what I'm getting into with the nonprofit org, by the way, is the opportunity for us to do more free workshops, more moments for you to really grab a hold of the law and apply it in your life. Because as I said, I feel that that is my moral responsibility. I've been blessed to have the education that I have, and I really feel that I have the responsibility to share that. I don't think that we are granted and we are given these amazing experiences for us to just grab up all of that knowledge for ourselves and not use it to enrich the lives of others. That is exactly why I came to this space. I figured it's something that's free. First of all, you don't have to pay for YouTube, right? And then I could come on when I was free and share knowledge here or there, and then people could watch it for free. So it was a win-win, right? And I need to capitalize on that. It's a win-win. And the pop culture lane doesn't allow for full capitalizing as far as me really sharing with you what I could. So I agree with, let me see your transcript. Yes, we'll keep the pop culture stuff because earlier this week, I considered deleting all that stuff, but we will keep it. We will keep it. And we will start to include other things as well. Okay. All right. So Trey Songz has been sued for $20 million. Not 2 million, not 20,000, $20 million. Now, I have to tell you, I looked for this lawsuit in the federal system, which if you are new here, welcome. But if you're an OG, you know what I mean by the federal system, right? I mean PACER. PACER is the system by which you can search for federal lawsuits. Okay. So I checked PACER And I did not see this lawsuit in Pacer, which says that it probably is not a federal lawsuit. It is probably a lawsuit that was filed in the state of California. Okay, which is fine, but that just makes things a little bit more difficult to navigate. If you're kind of unfamiliar with the federal court system versus the state court system, the federal court system is a lot more electronic than your individual states, right? Your individual states, they kind of vary as to accessibility. The state of New York is pretty good with that, for the most part. You can go on to e-courts and see lawsuits that are filed. The state of California is a bit more complicated. They allege to have an electronic system, but it's not streamlined. It's very individual court based. Whereas, like I said, in the state of New York, it's statewide, right? So, needless to say, finding the actual documentation of this lawsuit is a bit complicated, right? So, while we do not have the actual suit today, we have the firsthand account from the alleged victim, and we have the law of the state of California. And we also have some sample jury verdicts that I've queued up for you, so we can kind of see what she may be awarded if she gets this case all the way through to a jury trial, right? If they don't settle, or if, heaven forbid, the case gets dismissed or something like that. Okay. So before we dive in, disclaimer, I am giving you my humble legal opinion. I am, of course, not saying that Trey Songz is or is not liable, guilty, responsible for any of the things we are about to discuss, and I do not represent anybody that's involved in this case. And while we're on that topic, hello to everyone in the chat. Continue to be nice and lovely and respectful to each other. Hello to Jenny A. Hello to Michelle Jordan. Jenny A has a message for you all. The likes are free, okay? The likes are totally free. And it helps for us to rank in the algorithm so that other people can see the chat, if you're wondering why the like button is even relevant, okay? All right, so let's get into an article that I've queued up for you that's going to kind of give you the full explanation, if you will, of what the accusations are against Mr. Songz. And I just had a total brain pause. And what initiated this case? That is so weird. When your brain just literally pauses for a second? Very strange. And I'm looking for the specific article. I think it was page 6. Trey Songz lawsuit, page 6. Never mind me having to be a little awkward right now. My laptop has been acting really wonky and it's shut down Safari. So now I have to bring Safari back up to open up the article. All right. Done. All right. Hello to Nappy Yankee. I think I may have said hello. And while we're on the topic of content creators, let me see your transcript as a content creator. Check her out. And Nappy Yankee is a content creator. Also check him out as well. Okay. I'm seeing a lag on my end. I hope there's no lag on your end for the viewers. Okay. All right. So let me remove this very quickly. Hi there. And now let me share my Chrome tab. Perfect. Okay, so we are here on page 6, right? This is where we're going to get the gist of the accusations against Trey Songz so that we can compile what is probably happening in California State Court and then have the larger conversation about the California state law and potential jury verdicts in that state. Okay. And this article will also give us a little bit of background on Trey Songz because apparently, allegedly, this is not something that is new, meaning these types of allegations are not new in regards to Trey Songz. Okay. All right. So let me give you a better view of the article. Perfection. Here we go. Trey Songz accused in new $20 million lawsuit. My goodness. A new lawsuit is accusing Trey Songz of blank, including blank, and it was filed in Los Angeles on Tuesday. The alleged victim, who is named as Jane Doe, in court documents obtained by Page Six, is seeking $20 million in damages. So let's have a brief teaching moment. Let's switch our view for one moment. So, teaching moment. If you're unfamiliar with the term Jane Doe in a lawsuit, put a Y in the chat. Put a Y in the chat if you are unfamiliar with the term Jane Doe in a lawsuit and you're wondering, why would someone be named a Jane Doe in a lawsuit? I'll give you all a moment. I still need the Jeopardy music. I'm going to send myself a reminder right now to get a soundboard. That's what we need. So, why in the chat if yes, you would like an explanation as to how someone who is suing someone could call themselves Jane Doe? While I remind myself to buy a soundboard. Oh my goodness. Did you all hear me texting myself? Okay, no one wants me to explain why someone would be called Jane Doe, so we'll move on. Okay, so the unnamed woman claims that she had a casual and occasionally intimate relationship with the singer who was 37 years old. However, she states that things took a dark turn on March 24th, 2016, when he blanked her. Court's document states that allegedly she required and received immediate emergency medical care, which allegedly she received in after attending a party in the West Hills of California. The plaintiff alleges that, my goodness, the plaintiff alleges that Trey Songz turned into a savage once they entered the bedroom. She alleges that she screamed in pain and begged the singer to stop. The plaintiff further alleges that she fled the house immediately after the incident and that her Uber driver rerouted her to a nearby hospital after seeing that she was in distress. According to the lawsuit, the plaintiff arrived at Providence Joseph Medical Center emergency care unit, and doctors said that she had severe tearing that could require surgery. The woman goes on to explain that she did not initially give police investigating the incident Songz' name because she was in shock and she was in fear for her life. The victim claims that she has suffered severe emotional distress, which has manifested as fear, anxiety, humiliation, depression, and other physical and emotional injuries, as well as damages that are both economic and non-economic. A representative for Songz did not initially make a statement. However, the representative for Songz has denied the allegations to TMZ. In court documents obtained by TMZ, Trey Songz' attorney alleged that a key witness in another lawsuit, note that there is another lawsuit, okay, was approached by the attorney who's representing this plaintiff, okay? Now, they further go on to explain why it is that Trey Songz thinks that this attorney is witness tampering. From everything that I've seen and read, the attorney is simply asking other victims to come forward. That's all that I've seen. So I have not seen anything that would appear to be alleged witness tampering. Okay. Now they detail the history of Trey Songz and these allegations. In 2020, Trey Songz was accused of assaulting social media influencer Selena Powell's friend, Aliza. She claims that Songz kidnapped her and used the restroom on her in a hotel bathroom, which he then denied. Then in November of 2021, Las Vegas police confirmed to Page Six that Songz was the subject of a blank assault investigation stemming from an allegation that took place on his 37th birthday. Even more recently, in January, basketball player Dylan Gonzalez blasted Trey Songz, claiming that he R-worded her in a Las Vegas hotel. Ms. Gonzalez wrote, "With what seems like endlessly reoccurring news of the alleged assaults committed by Trey Songz, I am forced to repeatedly relive in my mind and suffer anew the long-suppressed horror and unbearable PTSD of my R-word by his very hand." Okay, so And as you can see, Gonzalez also hired Mitchell and Frebeck to represent her. So it appears that the same law firm is representing all of the accusers, which thus far we've heard of about 3. So even though we're discussing one lawsuit in particular today, as you've heard, there are other lawsuits. All righty. I am going to, oh no, I left you guys on small screen for all of that. Oh, hello, everyone. Let me say hello to everyone in the chat. Hello to The Truth. How are you? Hello to Pretoria Afro. Hello to Miss Me, Miss Mo. Yes, Miss Me, Miss Mo has said something interesting. It's giving Robert Kelly. Okay, it's giving Robert Kelly. Yes. So we are going to delve some more into the law regarding this lawsuit. But from what we've heard thus far, yes, right? This woman is alleging, and I have some more background on this case than Page Six has because I've read article after article after article, right? So let me kind of fill you in, right? Let me give you a little bit more background here. Let me stop share. Okay, wonderful. So let me give you some more background. So this woman, this plaintiff, she is alleging that she knew Trey Songz for, quite some time prior to this incident. She goes on to allege that they sometimes had a consensual, intimate kind of relationship, right? Then she further goes on to say that it wasn't necessarily, and you got to follow me here because, YouTube, we got to go a little bit in between the lines. She then goes on to say that it was not necessarily that she did not want to be intimate with Trey Songz that night, right? But it was more so that there was a specific thing that he wanted to do to her that she did not want, okay? And for those of you who don't know, partial permission is not permission, okay? It's not consent. If someone says, yes, you can do this, legally, you only have consent to do what they said yes to. Okay, so on the other hand, if they say, no, you cannot do that, you can't use that consent as blanket consent. You can't say, well, they consented to this part. No, the consent only covers the portion of the intimacy that you have consent for. Okay, so the more you read up about this case, you'll see that the plaintiff, she's very, straightforward. She says, no, we had a intimate type of relationship and I consented to a certain thing. She says he wanted to do another thing. She says that he repeatedly requested to do that thing and that every single time he requested, she said no. She said no. She then says that at one point he says he wants to, go and be alone or whatever. And they leave the general house party and they go into his bedroom. She says at that point, he then allegedly throws her on the ground and does exactly what she said no to. That's the allegation, that there was a specific act that she repeatedly said no to, and he lured her into the bedroom where they were alone, where he then allegedly threw her onto the ground, ripped off her clothing, and did the exact thing that she said no to. That is the allegation, okay? Hello to Keith West. Listen, we're going to address this right now. Keith West, how old are you? Drop in the chat for me. How old are you, Keith West? I'll wait because I want to see something. Yeah, everyone, we're waiting on Keith West to put his age in the chat. Paging Keith West. How old are you? Keith West, I am not your big sister. You are older than me. Thank you for the compliment, but I am not your big sister. All righty, so now let's move on. So let's take a look at the state of California law that applies to this incident. We'll go with that language. Incident. Alana James said, LOL. Listen, Keith West, I love you. But every comment, and I read your comments. Let me tell y'all, this is not bigYouTuber.com, okay? This is Empowered Esquire. I see every comment. I like every comment, right? And my friend Keith here, Every comment, he's like, oh, my big sister, my big. So I'm like, how old is he? Because I don't think, uh-uh. Oh, goodness. Okay, so let's move on. So I am going to pull up the actual state of California law for you. You know, I love to show you the law because a big part of why people are so alienated from the legal system is this level of just uncomfortability with the law. Most people do not understand how to read the law, they're uncomfortable with it, and so therefore they do not know the law. And that, everyone, is a big problem. Because if the law applies to you, which it does, then you should know it. You should be able to read it. You should be able to understand it, right? So let us do that. No, Keith West, I know it's all love. I know, but listen, you know how us ladies are about our age, So I was like, no. Okay. Let me pull up the state of California code for you all so we can have that chat. Okay, it's coming up. Perfect. Okay. Now I want to remember to put you on the proper screen so that you can actually really, really see it. Share. Okay, now let's come back here. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Perfect. Okay. So, as you know, if you're an OG here, you know the website we're on. If you're a newbie, maybe you don't, but you can find the law, really the law in any state, via this website called Justia. I might butcher it, but Justia. Okay. So here we are in the California code. We're looking at the definition for S battery. Okay. So here, S battery is when someone acts with the intent to cause a harmful or offensive contact with an intimate part of another person, and a blank offensive contact with that person directly results. So, in other words, if that person means to have contact with the other person's intimate portions of their body, right, that person does not want. Notice when you see harmful and offensive, it doesn't necessarily mean that you cause injury to the person, right? It means that it is harmful and offensive to that person because they do not want it. So note that distinction. Note that technically someone could consent to something that causes harm, but they consented to a certain type of contact, right? Harmful and offensive really has to do with the consent, because something is harmful and offensive in the eyes of the law when it's something that you don't want, right? So that's really code word for consent. Okay. They go on to say, person who is acting with the intent to cause, again, harmful or offensive contact with another by use of his or her intimate part, right? And such offensive contact directly results. So what is the difference between subsection 2 and subsection 1? Well, let's get into it. Subsection 1 is any type of contact. Subsection 1 could be a hand, it could be an object, right? But subsection 2 says by use of his or her intimate part. So the distinction here is that subsection 2 is when that person uses their own intimate part to be offensive towards the other person. Note that. Okay. Now, subsection 3. They act in a manner which causes an imminent apprehension of the conduct described in paragraph 1 or 2. So that is when this person either verbally threatens or in any manner, maybe they gesture towards the person, right? Any manner in which they lead that person to think, oh my goodness, they are about to do something that I don't consent to. Then subsection 3 applies. Now you get into 3B. They delve into liability. A person who commits a blank battery upon another person is liable for damages, which include, but is not limited to, general damages, special damages, and punitive damages. So here the California Code makes it clear. Listen, if you do something to someone in an intimate nature that they did not consent to, they can sue you and we will award them monetary damages. We will award them general damages and special damages, right? Meaning we will award them for medical bills. We will award them for pain and suffering. That's punitive, but we'll get to that, right? We will award them for psychological injury. We will award them for any wages that they lost because you caused psychological injury. Those are all the different types of damages that are involved in general damages, special damages, and punitive damages. And note that punitive damages, the word punitive, it's there for a reason, right? It's damages that are for the specific reason of punishing the defendant for what he or she did. And punitive damages are especially bad for defendants because it's really the punitive damages that judges get a lot of leeway, that juries tend to award millions of dollars for. Okay. All right, and then in section C, they say that you can also request something that is not monetary, right? Such as an injunction. So theoretically, someone could say to a court of law, you know, this person, they did something to me in an intimate manner that I did not consent, and I don't want money. I want a permanent injunction that keeps them away from my home, away from my school, away from my work. You know, I don't want money. I want an injunction that prevents them from being able to speak about me in the public because it re-traumatizes me. Right. Now, whether or not that would be granted, because injunctions tend to be a high burden to bear, right, for a plaintiff, is another conversation. But what matters is that it can be requested. It's a possibility. Okay. So this is the state of California's code in relation to the civil accusation. Note that it's the civil accusation. This is not the criminal accusation. This is a lawsuit, not a criminal prosecution. So the civil code telling us what the civil requirements are for this plaintiff who is now suing Trey Songz in the state of California. Okay, so I'm going to pop back up on the screen here. Wait a minute. It's supposed to still show you the screen. Okay, there we go. To answer any questions that you may have. All right, let's see. For 27%, let her know. Listen, I love you, Keith West. You know, I love you. And I see where you're going with that. You know what I mean? But sometimes you just gotta, you know, it's a little murky sometimes. So you gotta clear it on up, you know, gotta clear it on up. Alana has a question. She says, how can you really prove in court that you consented to one thing but not the other unless it's recorded? That is an interesting question. So let's talk about how this plaintiff could go about proving that she consented to one thing but not the other. So first of all, one of the interesting wait, Mara said, nip it right in the butt. I love y'all. I really do. I don't know if you all watch my shorts, but whenever I do my little shorts for you all, I always say I love you, and I do. I love y'all. This is a very special community that we have. And I only hope that as we grow, we just take on more people that have the same vibe and the same spirit that we do, you know, because I would hate to have, it's better to have quality than quantity. Let's just say that. Okay. All right, now back to Alana's really good question. So, how can Jane Doe prove that she consented to one thing but not another? So, one of the nuances of these types of cases is that you can bring in things that happened in the past. So, whenever you're dealing with intimate conduct and someone touching someone intimately and they're saying there was no consent, you can look at the past behavior of the parties, right? So, if this woman has proof that previously she had contact with Trey Songz, and that previously that contact always included this and not that, she can use that. She can say, well, her attorney can say, because she's not going to argue, right? But her attorney can say, Your Honor, we proffer that the history of the relationship is substantial evidence in regards to what she consented to and what she did not consent to. They had been active with each other for this amount of time, and they always did this and not that. Why, Your Honor? Because my client never consented to that. Okay, so that's one thing they can do is talk about their history together. If she has anything direct, like messages or recordings from that night, that would be very helpful. And that's another thing we don't know. Maybe he had requested some of these requests via text because they were at a party. You never know. Maybe he was texting her from one corner. So that's another way that you could prove it, of course, is if she has messages or recordings or anything like that. And another thing that can be used as circumstantial evidence is also her kit, right? The DNA and the examination they did immediately after. A lot of times, not all the time, but a lot of times, when there is severe tearing and severe ripping of your intimate area, it's as a result of, I got to be careful about my words here, it's as a result of excessive force. A lot of times, excessive force is when someone is taking, not when they've been given consent, allegedly. Okay. Let's see here. Keith West said no harm. Of course, I know no harm is done. I know no harm is done. No love lost at all. We're just having a little giggle, a little giggle. All right, Empress. Empress says, I'm listening. I know someone who is going through something similar, but with pictures. Okay. All right. Nappy Yankee says, I'm no lawyer, but the terminology alone, the wrangling over the word savage alone is a long court case in itself. Good point, and think about the fact that she describes it that way. Remember again, as I'm always telling you all, the words that are used in these complaints are not a coincidence. Okay, so they are trying to paint the picture for you, like I always say, right? They're trying to paint, I say that to my students. I don't really say that to you all much. I say that to my mock trial students more. Which one day we'll talk about my mock trial classes because I do teach mock trial classes. But anywho, they are trying to paint the picture for you of a light switch, right? They're outside in the party. He's requesting this thing. She's saying no. He gets her alone and it's like, throws her on the ground, rips off her clothing. That is the picture that they are painting. That is their accusation. That he knew he did not have that consent. And because of that, it was like a light switch. It was an immediate taking of, because he knew that the consent was not there. Allegedly. All right. Okay. Salute to Generation X podcast. How are you? Mara said, don't mind my East Coast humor. We love your East Coast humor, Mara. We love it. We love it. We love it. All right. And Keith West says, interesting. I never understood why these dudes are always getting in trouble like they do. It's interesting because as we heard from the article, this is a string of women accusing him of the same thing. And if you guys are not familiar with Keke Palmer's accusation, Keke Palmer made an accusation that he, not that he did anything to her like intimate wise, right? But the way that she worded her accusation, she hinted at this. She said that she felt S-word intimidated by him. She said that his entire persona and demeanor led her to feel like she was being pressured, like she had to do whatever it was he wanted, right? So we've heard this accusation before in relation to Trey Songz in general, just allegedly being a very forceful kind of person. Now, you would wonder why, right? Because he's Trey Songz, and I'm sure plenty of people would want to be with him, right? Both men and women. Catch that if you catch that. So yes, it's interesting. It's interesting to say the least that these accusations are sprouting up. But I have to say this, and this is a little sidebar, soapbox, whatever. But I think that fame and money does not change a person, but rather it illuminates the person inside. And so a lot of people, not just men, but women as well, who already had predatory natures, when they then become rich and famous, they now feel like I can just be a predator, right? No one can stop me. Okay, so let's dive into some the jury instructions. There we go. Let's dive into the jury instructions. So before we do, let's talk about, oh, and I'm getting like really legal nerdish, so I'm getting excited. Let me stretch. Ah! Let's talk about the importance of jury instructions and things and the like. Okay. So, one of the best ways to learn the applicable law is to look at the jury instructions for whatever that law is. The reason being, the jury instructions are meant to inform and educate a lay person, right? They're meant for a juror, someone who probably is not a lawyer or a judge. So it's a good way to get a version of the law that is probably going to be easier for a lay person to wrap their mind around. Now, as far as a trial, what is very important about jury instructions is that they can change the outcome of a verdict. So think about it realistically. Good jury instructions would adequately explain to a jury what's happening, right? And then a jury would be able to make a fair decision based on the law. Bad jury instructions do the opposite, right? So ineffective, confuddled, and confusing jury instructions, they can very often lead to verdicts that are actually not in alignment with what happened. Okay? Here's an example. Trayvon Martin. Many people were so upset at that jury, and I heard so many things being said about those jurors and, the jurors this and the jurors that, and Florida and Floridians. By the way, I'm a Floridian originally. I don't live in Florida now, whatever. But I'm originally a Floridian. Okay. Um, and and I, for one, did not appreciate or like the way that people just went in on the state of Florida like it was a state of Florida problem or like it was a Floridian problem, because it was not. The jury instructions in that case were awful. I mean, and I do mean awful. As an attorney, I read those jury instructions and I was confused and I was wondering, what is this? And what are they trying to say? Right? So if I read those jury instructions and they made no sense to me, imagine the jury trying to decipher those jury instructions. That's the first thing. The second thing is they did not properly explain the lesser charges. So not only do you have a jury that their instructions don't make sense to begin with, the instructions also make them feel as though it's all or nothing. There was no proper explanation of the lesser charges. Okay, so jury instructions are essential. Okay, and for the record, don't blame my fellow Floridians. All righty. Alana says, if a non-disclosure agreement was signed, could the plaintiff be penalized for reporting what happened? Well, that depends, Alana. So many people think that all non-disclosures are just non-disclosure, but I must tell you, all NDAs are not created equal. Okay, so it depends on the particulars of the NDA. What exactly did the NDA say that she's not permitted to talk about? Right? What exactly did the NDA cover? Did it cover a time frame or did it cover a subject? Who does it apply to? Does it only apply to her, or does it also have a blanket statement in which it applies to anyone that she may try to retell the story to? All NDAs are not created equal. We'll leave it at that. Okay. Hello to Miss OCOV Country Bay. How are you, darling? And Keith West said, I'm glad you said it, sis. Thank you. And I think you're talking about the Trayvon Martin thing, right? Okay, so now really, I'm going to share. Can I pull anything? Stop screen, share. I think I should be able to pull the file and just kind of pull up the file, but I think that would take longer. So let me just open the jury instructions. And then I will share my screen. But why on earth? There we go. It was taking so long. I was like, what on earth is the problem? Okay, window. Perfect. So here we are. So you're looking at here the actual published jury instructions, right, from the Judicial Council of California Civil Jury Instructions. So this is from the Council of California Civil Jury, right? Their actual Judicial Council Rules Committee. And these are the jury instructions they have come up with in relation to, what we're about to discuss. I can't use that word. Okay. So now let's get into it. We have to skip past a lot of the, let me type in what we're looking for here. All right. So notice that when you type into the search bar here the word that we're looking for, right, you get literally every single type of civil claim that's in relation to that word, right? Every state has published jury instructions, by the way. Now, jury instructions are tweaked. They can be tweaked for each case. But when you pull up the published jury instructions, you at least get an idea. You get a sense of what the jury instructions in that particular case could look like, right? I'm just going to pop in to see what you're seeing because I want you to see the full. There we go. Okay. So that should be on, what did it say? 1306. So let's go there. 1306. All right, here we are. Okay. So these are the essential factual elements, right? And this is an example of the instructions that could be given to a jury in this type of case. Okay. And we're going to plop in plaintiff name and defendant name. Okay. Jane Doe claims that Tremaine Neverson committed a blank battery. To establish this claim, Jane Doe must prove the following. 1, that Tremaine Neverson intended to cause a harmful or offensive contact with Jane Doe's, this is the one that she's alleging, guys. Look, okay. And a blank offensive contact with Jane Doe resulted. Or, not and, or that Tremaine Neverson intended to cause a harmful or offensive contact with Jane Doe's blank by use of Tremaine Neverson's blank organs, and said contact resulted. Or that Tremaine Neverson caused an imminent fear of a harmful or offensive contact with Jane Doe's, this is her allegation, or Jane Doe's, and a contact occurred. Okay, so that's the first element. Notice there are multiple elements. So the first element is, did the contact occur? Okay. The second element, that Jane Doe did not consent to the contact. So first, plaintiff has to prove that the contact occurred, which we know that she went immediately to the hospital and had a physical examination, right? Second, she has to prove that she did not consent. Okay. And then third, that Jane Doe was harmed and offended by Tremaine Neverson's conduct. Okay. And they have a little, explanation here where they say offensive contact means contact that offends a reasonable sense of personal dignity. Let's talk about that. Remember when we had that conversation about, well, what makes something harmful and offensive? How do we know? Remember when we had that convo? Let's have it now. Personal dignity. When you hear the law refer to personal dignity, they are referring to your right as a human being to have safety within your own, as we would say, the bubble, right? So your right to have safety within your bubble, that's your personal dignity. So when they say offensive contact is something that would just go against any reasonable personal dignity, they're pretty much saying any reasonable person who's in their bubble, right? If what you did to this plaintiff would offend a reasonable person who's in their bubble, then we know that you're being unreasonable and it's offensive. Okay, that's a layperson explanation of offensive contact that was unreasonable and totally went against someone's right to personal dignity. Okay. Hello to Black Anonymous. Black Anonymous says, I was multitasking and watching from the clouds. That's fine. Everyone check out Black Anonymous. Great content creator. Jade Smith says, sounds like he did all of that to her. From what we've heard, we have heard all three elements. But remember, she will have the burden if they take this to trial, because that's another thing. As you all know, this does not have to go to trial, right? They could settle this outside of court, or the court could decide that this case does not have merit and it could be dismissed. You never know. You never know. And I always tell you with these cases, you never know. You never know. Okay. Black Anonymous says, most people might think that Trey Songz is nice looking, successful, and well to do. So why would he need to force himself on any female? Well, it's interesting you say that, Black Anonymous, because I think this is a very good thing for us to discuss. So, and I hope that you all are not familiar with this, because goodness, it's not a wonderful thing to be familiar with. But I have worked with several victims of intimate violence. Okay. And the intimate violence is not about the blank satisfaction, you know. A lot of the times, the intimate violence is about domination and taking power over. And so, a lot of predators who take advantage of others, it is more so about exercising power and dominion over someone than it really is any of the intimate part. A lot of times predators have been oppressed in some way in their life, or they've had this feeling of feeling less than, or something of that nature, right? And you will find that they take those feelings from that other part of their life and then they oppress people in other areas of their lives. So online, there's been a conversation about things that may or may not have happened to Trey Songz in the music industry. And there's been a larger conversation about whether or not some things that may or may not have happened to him have led to him developing this mental what's the word I'm looking for, because I don't want to offend anyone, this negative mental thought process where he wants to exercise power and dominion over, right? And that's not to say that the predator doesn't get some sort of good feeling from the horrible behavior. Of course, they get some sort of feeling, but the gist of it is really the power and dominion over. The power and dominion over. The fact that someone doesn't want to do something and they can still do it to them anyway, that's the part that matters to them. So it's not necessarily the intimate portion of it. Let's see. Keith West says, where did you just see? There we go. Keith West says, it's crazy how people are interested in that kind of stuff. Doug said something interesting. Trey Songz is drunk off power. I remember years ago when he slapped Rob Kardashian. That happened? He pulled a Nipsey Hussle on Rob Kardashian. Y'all remember when Nipsey Hussle was at like the BT Awards or something, and he went to park a car, and valet said, you can't park the car there, and then he slapped him? Yeah. So you mean to tell me Trey Songz is Nipsey, he's Nipsey Hussle Jr. out here? Nipsey Hussle Light? I did not know that. Yeah, I didn't know that. Alana James says, what happened to Trey Songz in the music industry? Folklore. Give it a Google. But there's some folklore about some things that may or may not have happened to Trey Songz in the industry, and some things he may or may not have done to acquire certain things. Nappy Yankee made an interesting point. He said, remember, Ted Bundy was considered charming and handsome. Yes, he was. He was considered to be a man that he could really have any woman that he wanted, you know? Remember that, okay? Not everybody is someone who you would look at and think that they cannot acquire things on their own, right? Doug says he slapped him in a club. Interesting. I didn't know that. I did not know that. Poor Rob Kardashian. He goes through a lot, doesn't he? Man, poor Rob. All right, I'm going to look back at our jury instructions um, because I want to see. Yes, there's more for us to discuss. Okay, so let's go back to share screen. Oh, we're still looking at it. What do I mean? Let's go back to share screen. Full screen. Perfection. So here's sources and authorities. So again, every set of published jury instructions has this. They tell you where they got the information that they're using to draft these instructions, right? Fair enough. So they point you to the civil code, and then they talk about consent as a defense, okay? Then they go a little bit more into consent, right? So let's look at this sentence in particular. The section, meaning battery, right, is interpreted to require that the battery did not consent to the contact. So they're pretty much saying here, okay, we don't have the word consent in the law, but we interpret it to include that you don't have consent. Okay. Now they go here and they say the element of lack of consent to that particular contact is an essential element. Okay, so you have to specifically not provide consent for that action, which we know allegedly happened here. Okay, then they get into some of their secondary sources, right? And then they move on to what is this? An intent for assault and battery. So we'll leave that because that's not exactly what we're looking at. We're looking at S battery specifically. Okay, let me come on back. Hi there. Okay. Let's see. Mara Cherie said it must be tough being the only male child in that household. Yeah, referring to Rob Kardashian. I feel for him. I think he probably has a lot of pressure on him. Probably not the easiest household to grow up in. That's true. Okay, so let's take a look at what some potential jury verdicts could be, right? So looking at potential jury verdicts, it gives you the real deal on a case. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of insight on plaintiffs. Okay, listen, a plaintiff will come to an attorney and they will say, I want to sue this person. This person, they hit me in a nightclub. We'll use that example. And I want to sue them for $50 million. And I like to joke around and call it plaintiff math, right? Plaintiff and plaintiff's counsel math, because let me tell you, they do some special kind of math where they really will file a complaint asking for $50 million. So you cannot always, give a lot of credence to plaintiff math. So just because Jane Doe is requesting 20 million does not mean that she will necessarily garner 20 million. So that is the importance of looking at other jury verdicts that resulted from similar accusations, because then you get a real idea, a realistic idea of how much money could be awarded, and not the plaintiff math. Not the, I was walking on the sidewalk and I tripped and now I want 23 million. The plaintiff math. Okay. Let me say hello to some people in the chat. Hello to beautiful Bernice. How are you? Hello to Asaru Amun-Ray. How are you? All right. So, and by the way, Asaru, I see you on my morning messages. While we're having this conversation, everyone, every single day, well, not every day, Monday through Friday, I post motivational morning messages. Make sure that you just open up your little YouTube, come over to my community tab in the morning time, and you will see my morning messages. We have amazing discussions there about life, about growth, and it's a positive space. And every single morning I pick a positive message, a thought-provoking message to share with you. Okay, so what's up to Asaru? I always see Asaru in my morning message post, commenting there and being just all around awesome. Okay. And Black Anonymous was bringing up yet another good-looking male who apparently had similar accusations. All right, so let's get into Keith West says he loves the morning messages. Hey everyone. Don't judge me, but I swiped my laptop like this, and then it just swept me right out of the live. It just MacBook problems. But Keith West says he loves those messages. Thank you, Keith West. All right, so now let's get into our jury verdicts, our similar verdicts here. Let's start with this one. No, did I want to start? No, that's actually not the one I wanted to start with. Is this it? Yes. Dispute. No. Let's go with this one. Okay. I am going to paste this and then share my screen. I see someone was laughing at my lovely technical advancement there. I was on my little, because the MacBooks have the little pad in the middle, and I just went to swipe, and then it just swept me right on, right on the live. I was like, let me hurry up and get back. Okay, share screen. Oh, Alana James says the morning messages really pick her up when she needs it. Alana, I'm so touched to hear that. Really. And that's what I envision that space to be. So that community tab will continue to be that. As you all know, you have requested that we merge into different topics. And in addition to doing that here, we're also going to merge into different topics on a new page as well. I discussed this in my live that I did. I'm going to tell you guys what live that was. Give me one moment. 8 days ago. Let me turn this down. Okay. It just says 8 days ago. It doesn't tell me, what date, but I'm going to actually message myself the link to this live so I can put it in the chat. But it was a live that I did right before I was headed to brunch. And I shared with you all that I feel called to do more, so there will also be a separate channel. I'm still going to do the motivational morning messages here on Empowered Esquire, but the new channel that I'm adding to the repertoire will be a motivational and self-love channel. I haven't started it because I don't have a name yet. So I'm thinking of some names. All right, share screen. Chrome tab. I always announce that. Why do I announce that? I don't know. All right, here we are. So here's another free tool that you can use. So if you really want to know what a case is worth, right, then you want to know, well, what have juries awarded a person in similar cases in the past? And Jury Verdict Alert is a way to do that. And it's a totally free way to do that. Okay. All right, so this is an example of a case. It was back in 2019, and it was someone who was alleging that she was being harassed and battered while she was at work. Okay, so she was allegedly working for a high-profile entertainment male executive, and she was a female staffer. Okay, and she alleged that he was harassing her and battering her. Okay. So now we get down here to the results, and we see that she was awarded $5 million. Now, do we know all the details of her case? Well, let's see what we get here. Let's see what we get. So we get here that she was working for this executive, booking some of his clients. She alleged that she was subjected to harassment, batteries. Notice that, batteries, meaning she alleged that she was battered on more than one occasion. Okay, remember that. As you remember that this case involves only one incident of battery. Okay. Now we have some specific instances here. Oh my goodness. We have the man allegedly showing his private part to her without her consent. We have him making contact with her body part without her consent. We have him groping her without her consent. So that's the gist of these allegations. So there is something to note that makes these allegations different from the Trey Songz case. And the Trey Songz allegation is an actual intimate, I don't want to use that word. It's an actual completed intimate attack. Okay. Here we hear more of touching. Okay. So that does leave some leeway, but we know that this case was a $5 million jury award. So let's talk about that further. So realistically, knowing that while there were several instances of touching in this case, here we have an accusation with a completed assault, right? Not just touching. What do we think realistically that a jury would award this Jane Doe? And if you're catching this on the replay, tell me, what do you think? Realistically, what do you think a jury, knowing that she's asking for 20 million, but that a similar-esque case was awarded 5 million? What do you think Jane Doe could be awarded by a jury in this case? Do 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 do. I want to highlight this comment. Empress Kaya said, "Oh, he was nasty, nasty." Did you hear those accusations? The poor lady is living her life, trying to go to work, and you got to deal with your boss getting naked in front of you, showing you his private part. What? All you're trying to do is go to work. Okay, so we got some answers rolling. So Alana thinks 3 million. Okay. Beautiful Bernice says at least 5 million. Mara Cherise says 3 to 5 million. Okay. And Empress Kaya thinks that it would be about the same amount. Okay, so I'm going to tell you all what I think. I think that, yes, this only happened once. But as I said, it's a completed action, right? From beginning to end. It's not just a touching. So my humble personal opinion is that she could be awarded anywhere from 7 to 10. But I don't see the 20. I don't see the 20. And that's just my humble opinion. Okay. And of course, lawyer fees, right? Which, by the way, the award that we saw, we were talking about an all-inclusive award. Okay. All right. So does anyone have, I feel like there was something in particular that I wanted to say, but when you have something to say and then it just like, whew, it's gone. It's gone. If there are any questions that you have in particular for me, drop your questions in the chat so I can answer them before I head on out. Alana says 7 to 10 is reasonable. Yeah, I think that. That's what I think. But I don't see 20, which, let me be clear, I'm not saying 20 is impossible, but I just don't see it based upon similar cases in that same area. Okay. Oh, it's okay, Asaru. Listen, I'm probably going to head out in the next 5 to 6 minutes, and then you can just catch the replay, or you could even rewind to the beginning of the stream now. And any comments that you have, just drop them in the comment section. As you know, I'm in my comment section. So, and that's also, like I said, for everyone catching this on the replay, if you have an actual question and you're thinking it's too late, no, it's never too late. Just drop your question in the comment box and I will be there to answer your questions. Okay. All righty. So once more, let's have a rounded conversation about this lawsuit and where it could be heading. Okay. So this lawsuit was very, very recently filed, you all. I mean, it was just filed this month. So we are very, very early in the life of this case. There are many things that could happen from here. Now, based upon from what we've heard from Trey Songz in the media, he does plan on denying these allegations. So you will probably see his attorneys file what is called an answer. She has filed a complaint, So now they have to answer, right? So we'll probably see in the coming months, Trey Songz attorneys will file an answer in which they probably will deny these allegations because he has publicly denied them. And then it will go from there. They may also file either with their answer or after their answer a motion for this case to be dismissed. The plaintiff will then have to validate her accusations. She'll have to validate that her pleading is what the law refers to as sufficient, which just means it has enough meat, it has enough evidence backing it up that she should be permitted to move forward, right? And honestly, that early in the case, the bar is not set that high. Okay, it's not, it's certainly never as high as the burden of proof in a criminal case. Okay. But that's just to give you an idea of how we will probably see the life of this case progress. As I said, at any point they can settle. At any point they can settle this case, right? So we may never actually see a trial in this case, and many of these cases never make it to a trial. Nappy Yankee wants to know if I have any thoughts on the new Supreme Court nominee, and do I have such aspirations? So I will say this. When the short list for the nominees came out, I heard all of the hubbub and kerfuffle. That's my special word, kerfuffle, about the nominees' spouses. And I've said this on this channel before, but I'm going to say it again. If y'all don't mind your business, if y'all don't stop being more concerned about someone's spouse than you are their judicial record, someone's spouse than you are their prosecutorial record, someone's spouse. Okay, you see where I'm going with this? Okay, so I was not concerned about anybody's spouse. I was looking at the actual judicial record of the nominees. I will say for now that I am going to withhold expressing any personal opinion in regards to our current nominee. I will only say that it is high time that we had a Black woman on that Supreme Court. It is high time. Okay, so I'm glad that is happening, and I'm going to speak over her nomination and say that if she is if she is in fact confirmed, she will be fair, she will be impartial, and she will fight for the oppressed people in this nation. We're going to speak that positivity over her nomination. Okay. All righty. Asaru said, wise answer. Asaru, you're getting to know me, right? You're getting to know how I answer certain things. Keith West says, great session, and I've learned something. Definitely will be rewatching this from the beginning. Everyone, let me tell you, I don't care if one person comes on my live. If that one person says to me, I learned something, I've succeeded. I've succeeded. For every one of you that watch these lives and you learn something, you're enriched. This is my purpose. You ever know your purpose? My purpose is to teach and share and advocate for people via the law. That's my purpose. So thank you to all of you for being a part of this, for being a part of me walking in the reason that I'm here. So I am so glad to hear that, Keith West. All right, Mara Cherie says, so that's where the Black spouse conversation came up. That's where it came. They were all up in arms. Oh, look at their spouses. You better be more concerned with their reputation than their spouse, their judicial record than their spouse, their prosecutorial record, if they were a prosecutor, because that's a big thing, right? Than their spouse. They better get it together. They're worried about the wrong thing. They are worried about the wrong thing. Keith West says, it's great that we have a Black woman in that position. Let's just hope she does something for us, the people, which is why we spoke over her nomination, right? And we put that positivity out there that she will. And Praskaya says, gonna rewatch and take notes. Thank you, Duh. And Alana, you are absolutely welcome. You are welcome. So listen, everyone. Asaru says, I don't expect that. You don't expect what, Asaru? I'm curious. And Alana said people are already worried about the wrong thing. Listen, Alana, we are living in a society that is you ever play one of those video games where you're in the jungle, you're doing some weird mission in the jungle, and they have like landmines and things and booby traps, and that's society. And this is why I'm starting my this is why I'm starting my other channel, by the way, so I can have these conversations. But that's society, right? Booby traps and landmines, and that is what you're expected to exist in. And I am convinced that all the booby traps and the landmines, it's these things that we are distracted by, right? It's who is the spouse. That's a distraction. That doesn't even matter. Someone could have a spouse who you like the way the spouse looks, but the actions tells you that the person is not who you think they are. Okay? And it's the same booby trap we fall into with the hair and the nails and all the foolishness. Why? And that is why I like to, oh, y'all got me started. That is why I like to buck tradition on every level. I wear my hair however I want. I wear my nails however I feel. I do my makeup however I feel. And no one is going to tell me that I'm a less effective or less professional attorney because of it. Because I will wear these nails and walk into a courtroom and lay somebody out. I will wear my hair however I want to. It doesn't make me less black that my hair is not in an afro. Don't even get me on the soapbox. These are the booby traps of the game of life that we always fall into. We're always worried about the wrong thing. Side note, when I say lay somebody out, I of course mean verbally. Okay, please do not even insinuate that I meant a verbal slaying, a legal slaying. Okay, and let me be clear about that. Put me in a courtroom with any attorney, and me and these nails would put them to shame. So we worry about the wrong things. Look at a person for the fruit of that person. Think of people as a tree. Look at them for the fruit that they bear, for their works, and not things like how they look, how they're doing their hair, what their spouse looks like. All of that is a distraction. All righty. Doug says he would love to see me in action in the courtroom. Thank you, Doug. Shout out to KKC, everyone. Much love and respect to KKC. And I hope that he is having a wonderful day. He knows why I'm saying that. Okay. Anyone else that I need to shout out to before? Oh, another content creator roundup before I get out of here. Check out Nappy Yankee. Check out KKC. Check out, let me see a transcript. Who else was in here? Check out Black Anonymous. Check out Beautiful Bernice. I think you're a content creator, right? Beautiful Bernice. All right. Check her out. Okay. And shout out to you, James Harris. I don't know if I said hi to you. All right, everyone. So listen, I'm going to go ahead and head out. Mac wants dinner. Okay. So I'm going to give Mac his dinner and we're going to wind it down for the night. So anywho, this has been another installment of Empowered Esquire TV. If you're catching this on the replay, what say you? What do you think about these allegations? Do you think that the plaintiff, Jane Doe, right, that she will actually be able to garner $20 million from this case? That's my first question. And my second question for you is, what do you think about the very interesting conversation that we've had today about consent? Do you think that she will be able to prove that she consented to one thing, but not another? What do you think about that? All right. So anyway, I'll see you all next time. Listen, I hope you were empowered by the conversation that we had today. You are powerful and amazing in your own right. You bring something to this world that no one else does. And I love you for it. See ya.